Hello and welcome to the 12 Months Marathon Podcast with me, John Hill, the running podcast for the over 35s with Marathon Dreams, episode 67. I'm joined by a very special guest today. I'm joined by Kat Sethi. Kat, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, John.
Very good. Now, a little bit of background on Kat. So, Kat did her first marathon a couple of weeks ago in Budapest at the age of 50. I've known Kat for a couple of years. So, those of you who don't know, in a sort of other life, as it were, apart from my running side, I've been a fitness coach and personal trainer and that sort of thing for the last 15 or so years. And I call it sort of my legacy business, which is a group fitness program called Women on the Move, which is something that I've ran for over 10 years. And Kat has been coming to that group for a couple of years, and that's how I've got to know Kat. And I thought it was fantastic to get Kat on just because I think she typifies what a lot of people who listen to this and a lot of people that approach me experience with the whole running journey, which is how do you do this thing that seems so daunting when you've got quite a bit going on, when you've got life, when you've got a family, when you've got kids, and how you do that. So I wanted to get Kat on because I think she'd be very inspirational to most people because I think she fits them, and I mean this respectfully, she fits the mold of a normal person that ran a marathon. So, of all the excuses you could probably think of from a time point of view and a situation point of view, has got probably a lot of the natural things that would prevent that. So that's why I wanted to get Kat on to get her experiences. So the first question I wanted to ask you, Kat, is just first of all for everybody, just talk me through your running background specifically in terms of, how do we even get to the place of thinking about running a marathon?
So, John, I think when we first met about two and a half years ago, I joined the group and I was wanting to get back into my fitness, and I was able to run 5K, but really wanted to improve on that. And I don't know if you remember, I sent you that message when I first did my 10K about in capitals. I ran 10K without stopping.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of the catalyst to me wanting to do more. But I think previous to joining the group a few years ago, I'd always been active, but never really run long distances.
Okay. What was it that particularly with running that sparked that I want to do more?
I think it was just something that I could do whenever I wanted, however I wanted. And I like challenges, and I wanted to set myself a challenge of doing something better.
Okay. And how long? So, from a timeline point of view, so let's say keep it round numbers. So, you say you joined the group around 47, 48 years old, getting back into fitness. What had happened prior to that? Was that in terms of both fitness and running, was there a gap between you not doing? Was there nothing at all? What did that look like?
So I had 3 children, and in between having those children, I think I tried every time to get back. There's 2 years between each of the 3 of them, and I think I just failed to get back into that consistency that I'd had prior to having children.
Okay. And how long had it been since you say ran any sort of distance before you got back on the horse, as it were?
At least 6 years.
Okay. And what did it look like before, Kat? What was your running particularly like before that? Before you had kids. Let's go there, shall we? Let's go
Yeah.
let's go BC before children. What was it? Yeah.
Before children, I'd run one half, but I was regularly running 5 to 10.
Okay. And what is it about running specifically that you mentioned? You briefly touched on that. What is it about running specifically that you like?
I love the fact that I can be outside. I'm from Australia, and I really grew up being outside a lot, and I really miss that. So running gave me the opportunity to be outside, and the fact that you can fit it in around, around work, around everything. So I found it convenient, and like I said, just loved that being outside.
So talk me through. I obviously know this from a distance, because we used to sort of chat about it. But obviously, because it was more distance because you came to the group, but obviously I didn't see you apart from that, and I wasn't working with you specifically on the running side. So, how did that journey evolve then to get to the point when you thought you were ready to perhaps go for something like quite big, like a marathon? Because I remember this. You did that. You were doing that. You started doing the 5K. Then I remember. Tell the story about the 10K. I remember the 10K. Tell the 10K story because I like that story.
So I'd signed up, and this was the first post children I run that I'd done. Really, it was the Birmingham 10K.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to you about this, and then the encouragement around trying to get a plan. It was the first time I'd actually followed a plan when I did that 10K.
Right.
And the sense of achievement I felt at the end, I think a lot of that came from preparing and working on a plan to get to that point of the 10K.
Yeah.
And I think I shocked myself that I ran that 10K without stopping to walk. And for me, that was quite a massive milestone.
Okay.
Into it.
Okay. So we do the 10K. What, from a running standpoint, what happens in your head then? What starts to happen after you've done that?
So, okay, I can do that. So what's next?
Okay. Okay.
So the other thing was in the Birmingham 10K or the half, there's like it loops off. And I thought to myself, okay, if I can do 10, I need to keep the other loop and do the full half. And so that's what I did. And I signed up for that. It's probably about a year later at the next one, I think.
Yeah, because May is it, so you would have done the 10K in the May, roughly
Yes.
about the May, wasn't it? And the following year, and that would have been May 24 for the half. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And how did you feel after you did that? Because that would have been your second half marathon, right?
Yeah.
And how did that compare to your first one?
Really different because I followed a plan. I hadn't followed a plan for my first one. And I think, again, the sense of achievement, having worked towards something for a long period of time and getting to the half. And I felt at the end of that, okay, I want to try and improve my speed a little bit. And so I signed up for another half. I think it's a Warwick half.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, worked on my plan and my timing around that.
Okay. And did you see much of an improvement in your time from your second half to your first half?
I saw a little bit of an improvement in time, but a massive improvement in my enjoyment of the experience.
Okay. Okay. And what do you think that was linked to?
I think for me, the Warwick half was different because I'd been training on mostly flat and it was an undulating course, and I don't think I was quite ready for that.
Yeah.
But again, that taught me about the importance of looking and working out where I was actually going to do the run.
Yeah. Okay. So we do the two halves. What was the prompt to say, okay, let's go big. Let's go for the big one.
I think the big 5-0 definitely. As I said, I've always exercise has always been part of my life, and being outdoors has always been something I enjoy. And coming out from my 50th, I thought I wanted to do something for myself. And I knew, having listened to you and listened to the podcasts and talking to other people, I knew if I wanted to do this, it was going to take a lot of commitment, and I'd have to ask something of my family to give me the time to do that. And I thought, well, if I'm ever going to do that, this is the year to do that.
Okay. So you did the marathon a couple of weeks ago as we record this. When were you 50? When were you actually?
August.
You're 50 in August, right? So it was quite close to that. Did you ever think that this would be anything you'd even consider?
No, definitely not before joining Women on the Move and being surrounded by like-minded people.
Yeah.
This would never have entered my head.
Okay. Talk to me about that then. What not I mean, they're not necessarily just what we do at the group. It's more to the being surrounded by the people. How did that influence you to, because obviously I'll precursor that. So obviously we're not a running group. We don't, not everybody in the group runs, of course. So I'm just curious on how that inspired you to work I call it working up the level. So you go 5K, 10K, half marathon. How did that inspire, being around like-minded people? How did that inspire you to work up the levels in Cap?
Just seeing that other people set various challenges for themselves, a huge range of challenges, and they work to achieve them. And I think having that kind of group accountability and group support just encourages you to think, okay, well, I need to set something for myself here.
Okay. So it was more of a like a sort of, even like an accountability type of thing that made you think that, I should perhaps do something as well. So was there any stress to that, or was it more of a natural flow, or did you feel like you had to do it?
It felt very much like a natural flow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So, I mean, you've got 3 children. They're relatively young, right? They're relatively young children. Talk to me about, so what I'm interested in here is, because again, some of our listeners will resonate with this, and of course I can to a certain degree, is how did the training fit with that particularly? So when you did the half, obviously a half is a lot of training. We forget this when we talk about marathons primarily, because a half marathon is a lot of training as well. So how did that work out to a point where you thought, well, talk me through the half training first, and then talk to me about how you then process that to say, well, I can now do more.
So the half training, so as I said, when I did them post-children was the first time I'd actually followed a plan.
Right.
So what I really enjoyed about the plan was the ticking. I printed it out on paper, and I loved being able to tick it off after my runs.
Yeah.
And I guess that gave me a bit of an idea about how I needed to schedule those runs into my life. So I've got 3 kids. I work full-time. I'm also a student. I'm studying it as well.
Right.
And so trying to fit these 3 things in was tricky, but I kind of worked out how I could fit it for a half.
Okay. So when you say you worked it out, and this, I want you to, if you don't mind sharing this, 'cause I think it's really important from a practical sense, because I think sometimes, and I'll precurse this as well. So when sometimes people listen to people online, social media, whatever you want to call it, there's a detachment from reality, and it's not always deliberate as well. So the people aren't meaning to do that, but I think sometimes people detach from people because they think, well, I could never do that because I've got going on. So when you talk about planning that with a full time job, studying, and 3 kids, how did you plan it? What was the what? How did you? What sort of what was your weekly plan? Did you sort of sit that? How did you do it exactly? How do you? Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to get
Yeah.
into my head about how on earth is it possible to go, right, I've got to go here and there. So talk to me about that.
The week by week, and sometimes a couple of weeks in advance, I literally write down what dates I was doing the runs, and sometimes I might have had to swap the days around, but I made sure that I fitted them all in the week. And I had to do things like, for example, if I was doing a long run,
Yeah.
I would listen to a podcast or something that would help me with my study or with my work. So I was kind of doubling up there.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
I did find probably the trickiest bit, and this is silly really, but it was stuff like sometimes I had to think about whether or not I was going to go out if it involved a late night or having a couple of glasses of wine, because it wouldn't work when I had to get up early the next day.
Yeah.
But I think in my mind, it was about prioritizing what I actually wanted. And so I wanted to have time with my kids. I didn't want to spend all my weekends off doing my own things, or it involved having to decide what time I was going to set my alarm for on a Saturday or something.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the only other thing I did was when my kids having their sporting lessons, I used to take them, drop them off, and then I'd be running around the block until it was time to pick them up, which was a change. I used to just sit and watch them. And actually, I felt that by doing that, it was
Right. Okay. That's good. That's useful to know. And do you feel that the ticking things off was powerful?
for me, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into the marathon then, the marathon training bit. So a lot of our listeners obviously are either thinking about it or have done marathons recently. So how is that? Was that the same plan for the marathon, or just amplified?
The same plan on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
And had to have like a discussion with my other half and just say to him, this is what I want to do. And he was absolutely supportive.
Brilliant.
But I think that was important to have that. And also when it was getting closer and the intensity was rising, I really felt that I had the support and I couldn't let him down after he'd helped with the childcare and stuff over the last 3-4 months to try and get me to that point. So I think that was added to the support.
So you had an extra level of accountability to your other half to make sure that you did the thing you were making all these sacrifices. Well, that's good. No, it's good. I think that's a very positive thing. I think sometimes it is work. It's very positive to do that. So how? So So how long was the plan you followed?
So I went for a longer plan. I went for a 20-week plan. Um, because I wanted to make sure I had time to get into the rhythm of the training plan, and
Okay.
also to give myself a little bit of space if anything cropped up.
Okay. And what made you think? What made you think that was? Why do you think that was important to you? Doing that, building that base first.
Because I think having seen in the past how much commitment I had to go into sticking to the plan, I didn't want to let myself get into a situation where I didn't have any flexibility at all.
Yeah.
And I just needed to get into that kind of mindset before I started. So I felt like that first 4 weeks was getting into the, can I actually do this? I am going to do this. And then it was really serious after.
Okay. And in terms of percent, because I mean, this is an interesting one. So in terms of just off the top of your head, I know you won't know it exactly, but in a percentage sense, how much of the plan do you think you actually followed for that 20 weeks with all what you've got going on, would you say?
I would say 70 to 80% of it was followed.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. And
Weeks.
yeah. And how did you get on in, like, because I know we talked about this. I mean, and I talk about this a lot. I know there's like a peak phase of training, which is like that. It's that old inverted horseshoe thing, isn't it? It builds up, and then you go to the peak bit. How are those? How are those? Because how many sort of really long runs did you do? Say sort of how many 16-mile plus runs did you do?
So I fitted in the 3 long runs.
Yeah.
And doing those, I can't tell you how important it was to have done those for me.
Okay.
Because I think what I realized is over that 20 weeks, I think I've learned more about my own body than I ever have before.
Yeah.
And it was about needing to tweak things every time and understand what I needed to do. So it was much about following the plan. I think it was almost like a a plan to working out how my body moves and reacts to certain situations.
Okay. And how far were those the longest runs you did, roughly, on
So I
average?
think the longest one was 33 kilometers.
Right, okay. So that's about 21 miles for
Yeah.
people, ish. Okay, fine. Okay, cool. And how did you feel after that sort of level of effort, I suppose, in terms of those, particularly that peaks thing? Because obviously, a lot of, as we know, we work with, and you know this from being at the group, and I know this from working. We work with a lot of women in that sort of age bracket where changes are happening. Let's put it that way in terms of your body and hormonal stuff and all that. So how did your body hold up when you were doing that level of volume?
A lot better than I expected it to.
Okay,
And again, I think that's down to the kind of consistency of running, but also the consistency of movement.
okay,
And come in every morning, 4 mornings a week to kind of stretch and move, not necessarily run. I think that really helped me as well
okay.
from a 50-year-old woman perspective.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't know, our primary focus is basically resistance based training. It's body weight training, so it's not. It's more of an intense style of body weight training. So it's not like a sort of more gentler style, but it is focused on building strength, which is very important, particularly in women, because two things that can happen to you correlated to the menopause are skeletal bone thinning, osteoporosis, and secondly, your muscles start to degenerate. So you need to be doing, well, arguably, and do your own research on this. You need to do some resistance training as well. So that's useful to know that the resistance base. Do you think that really helped with the running then?
Definitely, really
Okay,
good.
good. That's
And I
good.
think that I can objectively say that because I upped from 3 mornings a week to 4 mornings a week, and that
Yeah.
was probably the biggest change that I'd made from doing the halves. So that was
Okay. So that was a change that you made after doing the half to make sure that and you kept up a fairly good schedule, didn't you, of resistance training alongside the running as well, didn't you? Okay. Yeah, there's probably something in that. I mean, again, we talk about this a lot in terms of you've got to do what you can, time permitting, but obviously, hopefully, Kat's a good example here of how you can do that. So, just quickly on something you mentioned earlier, which I heard, and I want you to just elaborate on. You talked about trade-offs quite a bit there that you just did. So, talk to me about that because I know you mentioned about like the little, and this is important, the little tips. So, what tips would you give? Because I call these trade-offs, which is okay. I dropped my kids off at sports. I ran round. I sacrificed this. So, what sort of trade-offs did you make to make sure that you fitted in everything?
so certainly the biggest trade-offs were the lying on the weekend.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Um, uh, I think definitely trying to think about timing. So, you know, I like socializing, I like going out with my friends, and but I think I probably did have to make a few kind of trade-offs there. But again, my friends were really supportive of that and understood. And, for the next few weeks, I'm making up for some lost time with people who I haven't gone out and caught up with. So I think for me, it was a choice that I made for a 5 months period that I really wanted to focus on myself and achieving this. And I think again, that's going back to kind of I felt like it was a gift I was giving myself for my 50th year, just to
yeah.
spend some time working on my fitness and
Brilliant, very good. Okay, so Budapest Marathon. Talk to us about that. Then give us the lowdown.
And so I was really lucky to have a really good friend who came with me,
Yeah.
who unfortunately wasn't able to complete the marathon, but came along to support. And arriving there, it was exciting. I think the biggest tip I can give anyone who's going to do this is to make sure they know where they're going the next day. Because although I'd gone there, found my way, knew exactly where I was going on the day, kind of got a bit disorientated and a little bit lost, finding my way there.
Yeah.
But when I did actually get to the venue, it was amazing. I can't describe the feeling. I know you've mentioned about this before, that kind of feeling, the atmosphere. It was amazing, and that did take me a bit by surprise, actually.
And talk me through the race itself.
Um, I found the pacer, tried to keep up with them as much as I could. Um, I did find that about halfway, I started thinking, "Oh gosh, this really is going on."
Yeah, it does go on. Yeah,
It's really long.
I gotta tell people it's a long way. It's a long way. 42K, 26 miles. It's a long way.
But one of the things that I didn't expect was people were kind of really friendly, and they had for the Budapest Marathon, if it was your first one, you have a little sticker that you wore on your back that said in Hungarian and in English that this is my first marathon.
That's nice.
And loads of people like come past and go, "Oh, well done." Like a few people stopped to have a chat, and that was really helpful. And I think probably in the halfway there was a lady from Nottingham, And there was a local guy from Budapest who had kind of a few chats with me that really, really helped push me over that second half.
Yeah, amazing. And what was your time?
5 hours and 24 minutes.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so a couple of sort of philosophical questions nearly as I do. So the first question I want to ask is, which I always ask, is what would you say to anybody who's in a similar situation to you, who's maybe got a little bit of an itch and they want to scratch it? What would you say? And they're a bit unsure, obviously, because they're potentially in a situation very similar to yourself. What would you say to them?
I'd say you surprise yourself at what you can actually achieve.
Okay.
I think I haven't got a lot of time, but actually when you really break it down and just think about where you can shoehorn things in, I'd really say go for it. And I think it's also given me a great understanding about how I can make some changes in my life generally to allow more time for stuff that's important.
That's powerful. Okay. And the really philosophical question that I always ask everybody is, how has it changed you, Kat?
Do you know what? It's really increased my confidence because I'm thinking, do you know what? I've managed to get through a marathon and basically enjoyed it. And I've managed to complete the 5 months training to get to that point. And even at the age of 50, that's really given me a confidence in many aspects of my life.
Fantastic. So what's next?
Well, I'm definitely going to sign up for that Warwick Half again in February and see, improve my time on that. I'm going to think about a marathon at some point in the future.
Another one.
I think so.
Okay.
Probably not for a couple more years.
Yeah.
Couple more years.
Oh, and what would be what would be your thinking there? Would it be a matter of taking what you've learned from this one? Would it be I want to beat my time? What would be the main focus for that?
I definitely want to improve my time on the next
Okay.
run. And I think in the reason as well, why I'm saying it won't be for a couple of years, because I know in the family stuff that's happening with the kids and stuff over the next few years, I can't commit the time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it when I can commit the time again. And when I feel that I need another challenge.
Okay. Okay. And how have you recovered?
That was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was feeling so good. I think I was on an absolute adrenaline buzz, and I came back and I was already high. And then I think I basically crashed and burned, and I had lots of sleep. But actually surprising, I was expecting to really, really struggle with recovery. But I think, again, going back to the fact that I'd done that resistance for quite a while, I think I was okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Kat. Anything else from you? Or
Oh, just to say, thanks, because I find these podcasts really helpful. Just to help me go through. And thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So thank you everybody for listening. Hopefully that's maybe inspired some of you to maybe even start a marathon journey or just look into any sort of running journey, because it sort of proves the point that there are people out there who are doing this with a lot of good, obviously good things, choices, but things against them that take a lot of their time. And you can actually do it when you've got to be conscientious of your time, and you've got to consider your time, and you have got to do those trade-offs. We can't do everything. We have got to trade things off sometimes. But as you can hopefully tell from Kat there, the feeling of doing a marathon is or doing anything that's going to push you beyond what you feel is possible is worth it. So thank you very much for inspiring people. So as always, guys, don't forget, if you're first time listening to the podcast, don't forget to subscribe, drop us a follow. I do appreciate that. The reviews help me massively as well, so don't forget to drop us a review on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts from. Please share this podcast with your friends on social media. That really helps me. Or drop a comment in as well. That always is useful to spread the word. Don't forget to follow me at 12 Months to Marathon on Instagram if you want your daily content and tips and support, or if you want to speak to me about getting any support for running a spring marathon next year, particularly because we are getting into that time of year. And as always, you can go to my bio and click the link and join my free running community for the over 35. Kat's in there as well. You can join that totally for free. Just go to my bio, 12 Months to Marathon, click the link at the top, and you can join for free over there. So thanks again to Kat, and thanks to everybody for listening. I do appreciate it, and I'll speak to you all